Tyr, the god of war for millennia within the Norse realm, was a pivotal figure within the story of Kratos and Atreus. While the Tyr we grew to know during the event of Ragnarok was a farce, a cruel trick played by Odin, Tyr, the real Tyr, was still out there. After defeating Odin, Kratos and Freya made their way to Niflheim, where they discovered that Tyr was still alive and had been imprisoned by his father Odin, as Odin could not take the shape of Tyr if the god of war was dead, so he kept him alive and imprisoned. Being the son of Odin and the brother of Thor, Heimdall and Baldur, of course Tyr would be powerful. After all, each one of his brothers and his father could go toe-to-toe with the mighty Kratos. However, we really never got to see Tyr at his full strength. Despite being the god of war and seemingly the perfect candidate to battle the god of war of another pantheon, Tyr was actually a pacifist who used his incredible power to broker peace between the realms instead of forcing them to bend the knee to Odin. But before we get too deep into the video, I'd like to take a second to pass it over to Kratos' just as powerful, albeit not very intimidating cousin, Nick, to tell you about today's sponsor.
We want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Marvel Contest of Champions. Marvel's Contest of Champions is an incredibly popular fighting game for mobile devices made by Kabam Studios and is now celebrating its 9-year anniversary. 9 years and going strong. The game continues regular updates and now features over 250 Marvel characters, so the chances are your favorite character is there. Mine isn't, but I'm holding out that Big Wheel will make an appearance soon. As part of the December update to the game, Marvel is bringing players the villain with the most extreme shoulder pad armor of the 90s, Onslaught, using the powers of both Professor X and Magneto. Also launching is a new holiday-themed event. The radical Red Russian, the Red Guardian, is getting his own event titled I'm Not the Guy in the Red Suit, where Alexei assembles an alliance of your champions to put an end to the unwanted letters comparing him to another legendary man in red. Also, as part of their 9-year anniversary from December 10th to the 17th, Contest of Champions will feature incredible rewards for every day that you log in, so if you're a current or regular returning player, they are giving special bonuses in their arenas to claim crystal shards and 5, 6, and 7-star champions. So use the link in the description and pinned comment section to download Marvel's Contest of Champions today. It's free to download and play. Pick a starting hero and fight, collect, and compete now.
As with my previous God of War videos, I would like to shout out that guy named Kratos. He's an incredible God of War power scaler who has been doing it for years, and without his help, this video could not be possible. So his Discord and his YouTube channel are linked down below. Be sure to check him out and tell him Key Issues sent ya. Throughout his life, Tyr visited other realms and met with people of these realms to learn more about their cultures and their pantheons. It's very likely that Tyr never met any of these other gods, as they would probably consider that an invasion of their realm, and in all the histories that Tyr has written, he never mentioned actually meeting any of them, but he does know a lot about them. He learned of many of these gods during his trip, and he would study the martial arts and combat styles of the realms that he visited. He had the weapons of these lands forged for his incredible stature and would practice these fighting styles in an effort to master them. And Tyr would not just spend time mastering his body, but his mind and his spirit as well. He visited Valhalla to face his inner demons and battled through trial after trial until he was able to find inner peace. He found that his body could be occupied by endless fighting while his mind worked out the rest. And during his trials, he would face the most powerful foes Valhalla could muster, and he would triumph each and every time. You see, while Tyr is a proponent of peace, he is still a god of war, and his nature was to fight. And to battle back against this nature was necessary to become a peaceful warrior. Due to his love for other cultures, other peoples, and his pursuit of peace, Tyr attempted to broker a peace with the Jotnar, the greatest threat to the Aesir's rule. However, the power balance shifted after Brock and Sindri crafted Mjolnir. In all his travels, Tyr had never found a weapon more powerful and perfectly balanced than Mjolnir or the Leviathan axe, and that's all the Aesir needed to tip the balance of power in their favor. Suspecting that Tyr was colluding with Jotunheim, Odin sent several powerful Aesir gods alongside deadly monsters to presumably kill his son, which shows us just how highly Tyr was held in Odin's eyes. He couldn't have just sent Thor. That really wouldn't have worked out all too well. Tyr was incredibly powerful, so he had to send multiple Aesir gods as well as many powerful monsters to attempt to take down Tyr. After being freed by Kratos, Tyr wandered the 9 realms until he began to see how much Kratos was struggling with the same doubts and fears that plagued Tyr so long ago. So he invited Kratos to Valhalla to deal with them. Here, Kratos is stripped of the powerful armor, enchantments, and enhancements that he had gained throughout his journey to prevent Ragnarok. Kratos was tasked with fighting through the levels of Valhalla to earn that power back. At the end of each cycle, Kratos would meet Tyr, who would provide a challenge for Kratos to help Kratos work through his inner struggles. In their first fight, Tyr appears to Kratos without armor and challenges Kratos with a shield and spear, tools very familiar to Kratos, implying that Tyr not only visited the Greek realm, but spent time there mastering their most famous weapons. In their second fight, Tyr takes it more seriously. The stronger Kratos becomes, the more powerful Tyr needs to be to challenge Kratos. So he's seen donning his godlike armor and wields a maquahuitl, a Mesoamerican weapon, sometimes referred to as a prized obsidian-studded club.
Maquahuitl, or the maquahuitl, was an Aztec weapon. The Aztec warrior often would not try to kill his opponent. He would try to maim and hurt him to be able to take him back to the temples and sacrifice him later.
Tyr found and mastered this weapon and its fighting style within the Aztecs realm. Additionally, he used the maquahuitl to perform blood magic called Drera, literally blood in Old Norse, which makes sense as the Aztecs are notorious for their blood sacrifices made to appease their gods. Additionally, he summons hordes of enemies who give their own blood to heal Tyr. During the third battle, Tyr summons a Khopesh, make that 2. The Khopesh originates from ancient Egypt. Tyr also begins to wield darkness magic by invoking the word Myrkir, meaning dark in Old Norse, which cloaks the battlefield, allowing him to strike unseen. In their final fight before Kratos confronts what's behind the door, Tyr pulls out a Japanese katana, which he channels ice magic through, but he doesn't limit himself to a single weapon this time. He can switch weapons in an instant, altering his fighting style and his equipment on the fly to deal with the challenge posed before him. With his katana, he casts the spell Hugsun, which means reflection in Old Norse, and he does this to create a clone of himself or multiple clones, as ninja in Japanese folklore could create bunshins of themselves, which was widely popularized by Naruto. In his final battle, Tyr is at full strength, taking his time with Kratos, allowing not just the Greek god of war to become strong enough to defeat him, but also to shake the cobwebs off of himself, as Tyr had been imprisoned for years, and this is symbolized by Tyr donning armor in the second fight, glowing arms in the third, and a glowing forehead in the fourth, alongside the changing health bar. Tyr also mentions that Kratos will not be ready until he can defeat Tyr without any doubt.
I'm sorry, why exactly are you attacking us?
Consider it a kind of trial by combat, Mimir. When Kratos can get the better of me, we'll know his mind is done for.
And he also mentions that Kratos shouldn't hold back because he won't be holding back.
Don't hold back. I won't.
Throughout the battles, you can see how skilled Tyr is, but you can also see how high his fight IQ is. In grappling situations, he mentions that a subtle shift in weight can allow you to overtake your opponent.
Just a subtle shift in weight. Having fun yet?
And Tyr drops little bits of fighting technique advice in each fight, which Kratos mentions in his journal later on, stating that Kratos is becoming more and more skilled as he's training against Tyr. This is an insane statement, as Kratos was one of the most skilled mortals to ever live, and all of that was achieved before the beginning of the first game, and then he would have to become skilled enough to fight toe-to-toe with the Olympians who had lived, trained, and fought innumerable battles throughout the millennia. However, Tyr's skill dwarfed the skill of the Greek Pantheon and actively helped Kratos to become more skilled. In terms of raw power, Tyr would scale relative to Kratos, who was wielding one of the two most powerful weapons in existence, the Leviathan Axe. Tyr could match his strength, hurt Kratos, and even stop his attacks dead in their tracks, and while Kratos did end up more powerful than Tyr by the end, as was necessary for him to confront what was behind the door, it certainly wasn't easy for Kratos, especially with the skill gap that existed between them. And even then, Kratos could fight through Valhalla again, fight Tyr, and ultimately lose with new dialogue options after the loss, so it's not even like Kratos is significantly more powerful than Tyr by the end of the journey. This level of power is nearly immeasurable. The ability to destroy multiple universes is not out of the question for these two gods. Nearly every being in all of creation spawned from Ymir, the progenitor of almost everything within the 9 realms. And eventually, Odin took up his spear and killed Ymir. This is important to note as, again, from Ymir, everything originated, including the World Tree and the 9 realms which sit upon its branches. Each one of these realms being their own universe within the Norse Realm, which obviously makes these feats very impressive. The universes in which these planets resided came from Ymir, a being, again, whose creation spawned a multiverse in the Yggdrasil which transcends space and time itself. And while Odin sits atop the Norse pantheon in terms of raw power, lesser beings like his son Thor could splinter the World Tree, and Surd could destroy an entire branch. Additionally, Kratos could hurt Odin and matched him physically at various points, not to mention he beat Thor, so Tyr would be in this same multiversal level of power. If you had to rank him amongst his family, Tyr is likely the 3rd strongest Aesir and easily the most skilled. Kratos himself ranks Tyr amongst the most powerful foes he's ever faced. That includes the Greek Pantheon. However, there is a little bit of a caveat. Within his journal, Kratos mentions he's become not only more skilled during his fights with Tyr, but he's also become stronger throughout his journey in Valhalla. In the description for the DLC on the PlayStation website, they say Kratos will need to master his body and mind, which could support the notion that Kratos is at his most powerful during the Norse saga, of course, when he fights Tyr. With this in mind, you could easily say Tyr is above the likes of Thor, as Kratos needed to become stronger to beat Tyr in their final battle. And in his second battle with Thor, Kratos was kinda winning pretty handily.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
While I know Kratos loses his enchantments when he enters the shores, his struggles throughout Valhalla more than make up for that. Additionally, if you lose to Tyr, Sigrun will mention that there's no shame in it, as Tyr currently is unrivaled.
There is no shame in falling to Tyr. He is without peer. For now.
Which blatantly puts him above the likes of Freya, who is stated to be Kratos' equal, and she was key in defeating Odin in the final battle. So with all that in mind, you can more confidently say Tyr would defeat his brother Thor in battle, as again, Kratos handled Thor pretty easily in their final fight, and remember, it took multiple Aesir gods teamed up with deadly monsters to capture Tyr. As for other abilities, we mentioned some above, but he can also teleport, regenerate entire limbs thanks to magical hieroglyphs he received in Egypt. He can fire blasts of incredible raw energy or even elemental spells. He was granted the gift of sight by the Jotuns, which causes his eyes to glow and allows him to view hidden things and travel freely throughout the 9 realms. Tyr is a god capable of laying waste to entire multiverses and is possibly the most skilled combatant in the entire series and wields the weapons and magic of multiple pantheons. I'm really glad that we finally got to see Tyr in action, and he definitely did not disappoint. I'm officially saying it, Tyr is the second most powerful Aesir god. Put it down in writing. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Do you think Tyr is above Thor, or do you think he's one step below? Personally, I think he's right underneath Odin, but I do want to know what you think. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. It does really help us out. And let me know if there are any other characters in the God of War universe that you'd like me to take a closer look at. Thanks again for watching, everybody. And remember the motto, it's Tyr over everything. And I'll see you guys next time.